Thanks for coming by. Joining us now, we have a little bit more on this. Leah Salgado. She is the Deputy Director of IllumiNative, an organization working to change these Native American team names and logos. Leah, let's pick it up there with the Blackhawks. Has the work the team has done made any difference in your opinion or in your position?
No, I would say that we're ultimately Native people have been protesting against all types of mascots, including Chicago, Kansas City, Atlanta, and the thousands of Native mascots that exist in K through 12 schools. I think that while there's a lot of conversation about the longstanding tradition, specifically with Cleveland in their name, we have to understand that Native Americans have been here on this land since time immemorial, meaning that our history and our culture and our people have been here long before any of these mascots came to be, and we'll continue to protest against them until they're all gone. You
heard the discussion about the Chicago angle on it anyway, being more respectful and communicating and having a collaboration with the Native community in the city here. That doesn't help, in your opinion, at all?
No, there's still dozens of groups within Chicago and the Native community that are protesting against the mascot and the use of the mascot. We do also know that there's plenty of research that breaks down the psychological impacts that these mascots have, not only on Native youth, but also youth in general. And we know that it's important for us to ensure that we're creating environments where all children can succeed, right, and where they can be valued and treasured, and these mascots keep that from happening.
I think there are a lot of people, Leah, who certainly understand the debate and agree with it, especially when you're talking about the Redskins in Washington. But is there any name or reference that the organization is okay with? I mean, some might ask, what about the Golden State Warriors, for example?
Well, what we can say about Golden State is that they've moved completely away from any type of imagery that includes people. What we can say about mascots generally, and this is true also for Chicago, is that whether or not the team has intentions to ensure that there isn't racist fan behavior, whether that's dressing up like a Native person, whether that's the tomahawk chop, it's very difficult for these teams to actually keep that from happening. We've seen with Atlanta, well, they've made, big, broad statements about how they're getting rid of the tomahawk chop, et cetera. It still takes place within their stadium. So it's not a question of whether, teams want to keep these things from happening. It's that they can't. And if we can't ensure that Native youth and Native people are going to be harmed by the use of these mascots, then we need to get rid of them completely.
Right. Do you feel like you're making some progress, Leah? I mean, you've had a couple of big victories here, but there's a long way to go. I mean, you talked about the professional teams, but as you also mentioned, college, minor leagues, and even down to the elementary school level.
Yeah, well, I mean, it wasn't just until a few years ago, right, where Dan Snyder said, never will I change the team. And we got to say never. There's a big group of Native people that are organizing, that are doing the work on the ground to ensure that these things change. And, this country, and I think us as, a group of people, we've continued to make pushes to ensure that we can all, be safe and thrive within this country. And, it's not going to change. I think Native people are going to continue to mobilize. We might celebrate this victory today for, a couple hours, but we're going to get back to work. So there's a lot more to be done.
Leah Salgado, Deputy Director of IllumiNative. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great weekend.
You too.
Tonight we take